All right, guys, good morning. Welcome back to the 90% podcast. I'm your host, as always, Tyler Matthews, and today I'm joined by a very, very special guest, my man, Nick Womble. How you doing today, Nick?
Doing good. Thanks for having me.
So for those who don't know Nick Womble, I want to just say that he changed my life and the course of my life a few years ago. So a lot of you guys who know me know that I blew out my knee. I tore my ACL, I fractured my tibia, my meniscus was messed up, my quad was ripped, so my entire leg was just broken. And I did regular physical therapy, which helped a little bit. But then after that, I was still in crucial pain every single day waking up. And I didn't really like training anymore, training basketball players. And I just didn't really feel joy walking around because I was in so much pain. And so I came to Nick Womble, and he helped me tremendously gain strength back in my legs, my mobility, my core. So I just want to publicly thank you, Nick, for everything that you've done for me.
Of course, bro. Yeah.
Appreciate
it's been a journey.
Yes, sir.
I was actually looking back a little bit ago trying to see when we actually linked up. And it's almost been 3 years ago now, so it's crazy.
3 years since we first linked?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like summer of 2020, I think.
Oh, yeah. We've both come a long way since then.
Yeah.
And so I don't fully know Nick's credentials. I know Nick is regarded around this Brevard County and Melbourne area as one of the best, if not the best, strength and conditioning trainer. I know you've worked with at colleges, Clemson, right? You've worked with kids as young as, 10 years old, all the way up to professional athletes. And so what I want to do is, can you just kind of give us a brief overview of your background and where you're at currently and where you've been in the past?
Yeah. I mean, I've always had a joy for this, just training and just being in the gym and trying to better myself as an athlete. When I was growing up, I somehow just ended up training all my buddies, and throughout like high school, everyone come over to our house and we had a little weight set in the back, and I've been basically coaching since then on, and didn't really have the credentials then. And I actually found some old workouts back in the day. I'm like looking at them like, what were you doing?
I think we all have those.
Yeah, but I mean, that's where it started, and heard you can get a career in it. So went to UCF, got my undergrad and master's there in exercise science and exercise physiology. Spent my grad time with UCF athletics. I worked with every team from your golf up to your football. And that was really where I kind of like learned the joy of, training athletes, and like there's a career in this. I had actually looked to pursue training special forces a little bit at first, and just heard that was an avenue you could go, and thought that'd be very rewarding. And
special forces like military?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, they hire strength staff. It's actually a fairly common role now, but I'd say, it's almost been like 10 years since I've been out of college.
Time flies.
And getting into college, I guess, not out of it. But and when I first got there, it was a fairly new profession for this field, and I was like, man, that sounds awesome. And somehow or another, I got linked up with the UCF strength coach. His daughter actually was a friend of mine, and so I started working there during grad school. And I at first it was a lot, but I got a great strength coach that I worked under, and he kind of took me under his wing, Ben O'Donnell. And he definitely created the love for it for me, like just seeing what he could do, the impact he could have on elite athletes at that level. It was super rewarding, and really at that point on, I was just trying to pursue the collegiate strength and conditioning world. Pursued that for a couple years, and was at Clemson a little bit, interned up there, worked with a lot of their teams, and had a lot of growth up there as well. But then life brought me back here, and was looking for jobs, and couldn't really land a big one or land anything that seemed important for me postgraduate school. And, I grew up in this area and felt a need for it. And one day it was just like, let's do it. Let's open up a little spot here and get after it and start working with some athletes here. And kind of the rest is history after that.
Oh, yeah. No, and so you're a private gym owner, right? You make your own schedule, you run the gym, you do your own workouts, nobody's telling you what to do. How do you like that as opposed to, because obviously you were pursuing the college route, but now you're working for yourself, right? And so how do you think that's worked out for you?
I think in the long run it's better, because I tend to have some wild thinking with training and the body, and not to say what I learned in school and from these coaches isn't right or wrong. It's just it can be a little black and white sometimes, and there's not much freedom to explore outside of that. I mean, the human body is an incredible creation, and it can take a lot, and it can handle so much. And sometimes if we can get too structured with one way or another, it can, I think, hinder the athlete's ability to get to another level. And so being on my own and having the freedom to, program the way I believe and work with athletes in a certain progression, it's kind of given me the freedom to really, create something beautiful for them. And, it's been a little bit of a trial and error journey on myself throughout that process. It isn't stuff that, I'm just like, hey, let's try this and see how it goes. A lot of it is a testing on me first. And, I still try to train pretty hard myself and take care of myself to a high level and want to practice what I preach. So a lot of times, if I have an idea or a theory that I'm thinking on and, this is probably built off what I was taught in school, I go and apply it to myself and, try it out. Or maybe I have an athlete that I've worked with for, a handful of years, and I trust that he knows his body and, kind of thinks a similar way. And, I'll throw him a theory and we'll be like, all right, what do you think? And, we'll start messing with it a little bit.
Yeah.
And then we'll be like, yeah, it wasn't bad, but probably not that important. And so I've developed a nice philosophy over the years, because of that freedom and having the ability to be my own boss.
Absolutely. No, 100%. And that's one of my favorite parts about training with you is that every time I come in here, it's something unique and something that either I've never done before or a variation that I've never seen or done before, right? Along with obviously your ability to coach and just your attitude and your personality and everything like that, I think draws athletes in. So, well, at least myself, right? I think everybody has their reasons for coming in here. So I want to talk about just kind of your side or your viewpoint on training. I know me and you have obviously had conversations about this throughout the years. There's the scientific way and the way that they're teaching in medical journals and schools, and the degrees that people are getting have a certain way of teaching movement and human movement, right? And then there's kind of this way that has, in my opinion, just been coming along the last maybe 5 years or so. And I think you've adopted that, which is that the human body is very adaptable, right? And that we're not as fragile as people may think we are, right? And is that sounding
correct.
On the right track?
Yeah.
So I want you to kind of touch on that. What is your just philosophy on how we can train our body?
So, it really clicked for me. Like I said, I train pretty hard myself, and I was always having, nagging injuries. I wasn't seriously hurt, but things just didn't feel good. And I'm like, man, I'm training probably better than most people are, to the books. And I'm like, if I'm always getting hurt, then either I'm missing something or I don't know, I'm just broken. I don't know what it is, but something's off. And early on of opening the facility up, I was actually running out to go surf one day, and I was, watching some kids play on the playground, and they were jumping off the top of it, and it had to be 10 plus feet up and just hitting the ground rolling. And then, they were just one after the next.
Oh yeah,
just
little
going.
kids are just monkeys.
I'm just sitting there watching them play for 5 minutes, and I'm like, dude, we can't. I probably can't do that. I don't think any of my athletes can do that. And I'm thinking to myself, why does this 8-year-old have a better human body than me? Why is he more athletic in a sense than me? And I'm training my life for this. And so that's, I think, where my mind has started to open, that we're a little more resilient than we think. And, as we get older, we forget to play and we forget to have fun and explore our bodies and, put them in weird positions and challenge them in awkward ways that, a class can't really teach you. And, I think as we get older, we stop doing that. And a little bit of, the foundational part of my philosophy is just to allow us to be kids again and play, and to not be afraid to do weird things in the gym and, put our body into some, crazy or tough positions, because unfortunately sport's going to take you there. Sports are, they're pretty intense to the point where you can't avoid injuries per se. Sometimes they're just going to happen. But the better I believe we can put our body in tough situations in the gym in a controlled setting, the better we can, go out to the quarter field and play a little more freely. And without the fear of, could today be the day, that I blow my knee out or whatever, and, my career's over, and they're stressing that. And, that kind of opens up a whole nother door of just the mental side of training, that, the gym is, in my opinion, the meat and it's the meat and potatoes, and it gives you a lot, but there's some other parts of it that aren't really spoken enough about, just the mental side of it.
And I'm really glad you're bringing this up. That's giving me goosebumps, right? Because we're the 90% podcast. We named it that because it's 90% mental, right? And people argue that, right? People say, no, it's 90% physical, you got to do the physical work. But 90% mental, meaning stuff like what you just said, right? If you're going into a game and you don't trust yourself, you don't trust your body, and you're worried that you're going to get hurt, 90% of it is in your head, right? Your body can physically do it, but if you don't believe you can, right, then a lot of it, it's there's a term, imposter syndrome, right? Like, I don't know the exact science behind that, but you put in the work and you do it so much, and you build the confidence that that you're okay in that situation, right?
Yeah.
So,
no, it's definitely, I mean, like the more I'm doing this, and I've been blessed to work with a lot of elite athletes in this area, and I have a nice little professional baseball group that works with me in the off seasons. And working with these guys and seeing some of them at the highest level, and a couple of them have made their debuts this year, which has been super, super rewarding for them to see all the hard work pay off. But, watching those guys work outside of the gym, what do they do when they're home? What are they thinking? They are putting, if not, the same, if not more work outside of the gym than they are in it. And I'd argue way more than it. And we're talking, their sport work, their, nutrition, their sleep habits, their, meditation, whatever they're doing, they are doing more outside of the gym than, they're doing in it. And most people just come and be like, well, check off my workout. I did my part for my training, and that's enough. And I'd argue like that's like the part, that's the easy part.
Yeah.
Anyone can go in a gym and just go work out, but to do the little boring knick-knacky things is really where, like, I think you take yourself from being a good athlete to a great athlete.
100% or 90%, right? Because that, so, and I would say 90% of athletes are doing what you just, are not doing what you just said, right? 90% of athletes are just going to the gym and checking off, I got my workout in today, and then they're going home, and maybe those other 23 hours of the day aren't lining up with their goals of what they're doing in that hour of the gym, right? So to separate yourself, you have to be in that 10% of doing those little things, right? And let's talk about what are some of those little things. I know I've been obviously in the gym, and so I've seen some of the things that you help implement. For those who don't know, I don't know if the camera can see Nick's feet, but he's barefoot right now, and I literally don't think he owns a pair of shoes or socks. He's barefoot 24/7, and I think that's something that you shed light on every single day, right? Is everybody in here, most times I come in, is barefoot, right? So that's one of the things I think you get everybody on the
we've had him on the Whoop a little bit.
The Whoop, yeah. And so what are some things like that you implement outside of the gym that you see are helping athletes?
So, I mean, again, it comes back to just like the human body is resilient, and like we didn't have, we'll start with the shoes first. We didn't have shoes, forever. I mean, sure, we've had some form of shoe, a sandal or this, that, and the other, to protect against, abrasive surfaces and whatnot. But, for the majority part of, human evolution, like we've been fairly barefoot in some sort of way. We've been challenged to, actually use our feet to do something. And they're very strong. Like, I can't remember all the stats on it, but there's like a third of the bones in the body are just like in the feet alone, or like the ankles up or down or whatever. And, an insane amount of muscles and tendons, and I mean, like 100 just in the foot alone. So when you hear those like stats and you think of like, that's kind of important to probably train pretty heavily, and to make sure that it's the foundation of our body. I mean, we're on our feet all the time.
Yeah, no, it's the foundation.
And so for me, it's like a ground up approach. Like I can't be strong upstream if, the foundation's bad. And I think there's a quote somewhere. It's like, you can't shoot a cannon out of a canoe. And the whole concept is like, you need that stability to create power. And so it's just, again, it's about like, starting from that portion on. Like people walk in the gym and I'm, like, hey, pop your shoes off. Like, what? Like, it's weird now for them to do that. When, I mean, growing up, I don't know about you, but like I was outside barefoot, climbing trees, doing whatever. Like that was just, I could run on rocks. Like my feet were super resilient. And, as I got older, back to the, the normal world, and my shoes are always on, and, I'm always on my feet. Next thing you know, I'm getting plantar fasciitis and all these like feet problems. And I'm like, well, I've never had this before. Like, why is this happening? And it was just because they got weak. They started relying on the shoes. They started relying on, sure, we're smart, and we give our, I mean, I'm freezing right now, so like a jacket and some pants would help, but like we create things to make our lives more comfortable, and shoes were one of those things. And unfortunately, that comfort has brought dysfunction. And so something as simple as just getting them to get their shoes off when they come in the gym is, it's such low-hanging fruit that they don't even realize they're getting better. But they're training just by being barefoot.
Oh, yeah. No, it helped me tremendously. I think my feet were literally numb before I started training with you. Just speaking as a basketball player, we're wearing really thick, or not heavy, but thick shoes, right? There's like a 1/2 inch on the bottom and then wrapped around, just protective. So and those are jamming your toes together nonstop, right? So I really couldn't feel my feet until we started doing a lot of barefoot stretching and jump roping, sled pushes, all that stuff. So.
And it's not like they're always barefoot. Like it's funny though. Some get so addicted to it almost in a sense. They're like they'll come up here without shoes. And I'm like, listen, it's still a gym. And like there's gonna be times we need shoes. So like you have to always bring them because I'm not against them when we need them. Like it's funny too. Sometimes people will roll up when I'm working out, and they're like, "What are you doing? Like you're wearing shoes?" And I'm like, "Well, there's a time and a place for it. Like like I can sit here and push myself and try to do it with." Without and potentially annoy my foot. That's another thing. When your feet get annoyed, like they stay annoyed.
Oh yeah, because you're on them all day.
It's very hard to like allow it to heal because you can't.
Yeah.
And so they'll just like linger. 6 weeks, 7 weeks, and you're still like, why is this bothering me still? And so like for me, like I've learned this the hard way. Again, being barefoot a lot and being obsessed with that style of training. Sometimes I've had a point where I've overdone it, and I'm like, you know what? Like it's just not worth to annoy it. So, put your shoes on every once in a while and do a drill, and then you can take them back off. Like, you could even wear them the whole time in the gym. I'm not even saying you need to barefoot train in a gym because, like, again, if you're going to perform a little bit better with them on, then do it. But at some point, you need to be having them off. And if you're not taking them off outside of the gym, and the gym is the 1 hour I can get you to get your shoes off, then I'm going to do that.
Exactly.
You know? And so I think that's like where some people think you can go a little overboard on it. But, if you are using your shoes for your sport, which clearly you're going to need them, you should probably train in them every once in a while and be comfortable in them.
Yeah.
But just know to take care of them outside of that. Take them off and do some, mobility drills for your feet and toes and move them because they are meant to move. Movement is medicine. And if you're, like you said, you're shoving them in a little shoe with a small toe box and you don't move your toes anymore, then you wonder why they can't move anymore.
You don't use them, you're going to lose them.
Exactly. I mean, the body's I feel like it's super smart to a point where it's almost lazy. And it's like, what? Like, how does that work? But it knows that if you're not going to challenge it to use it anymore, it's just going to be like, all right, I'm going to forget that. Because that's too much work. That's too much energy. Like, we're just going to put that in the back burner. Like, it's not saying it forgot forever. You can reteach it. But you're going to have to, like, go through a process.
It's going to take reps.
Yeah, you're going to have to.
You've had millions or hundreds of thousands of reps without the shoes or with the shoes
Correct.
on. So now to get comfortable without it, you got to build that up.
Yeah.
So besides barefoot training, what else do you think are some things that you preach and implement? I know diet is one, right? How's your diet and how would you?
Yeah, diet is definitely a big one. Diet's one that I think is a little controversial, which is what the world is preaching for us to eat these days. For me, and this is something I will teach my athletes, I obviously won't, tell them how they need to eat. And, I can't sometimes even do that to begin with. They're, 14, 15 years old. They're at the will of their parents. So, I'll just kind of reckon, they'll ask me, what do you do? Like, what are you doing? And so I eat a little untraditionally. I try to eat, the way I believe people 150 to 250 years ago ate. That's just as simple as I'm going to put it. I mean, it just stems in with the philosophy I have of training. Just go back to like what we were doing for thousands of years, and we evolved in a way to handle this. So it's like, don't change it because it worked for a long time. And then now we have changed it, whether it's the way we move or it's the way we eat. And we're seeing a lot of dysfunction. We're seeing a lot of, metabolic issues and just, diseases and cancers are through the roof. And, this is within like, the last 50 years. And people are kind of just, a blind eye to the fact that this is actually happening. And, for me, again, whether it was just my mindset with training and understanding like there's an old way to do this a little better probably, I just started thinking about eating that way. And I'd say a couple years ago, probably right around the time period I met you, I started transitioning into just like a wise traditions eating pattern of just, eat organic food and eat, a lot of meat and eggs and raw dairy and, drink a clean water source and try to avoid anything processed and fake that wasn't in our stores 100 years ago. And I think if you can just keep it as simple as that, you can take that to a very deep level, but just keep it that simple.
And have you seen any changes or progress from shifting your diet?
For me, yeah, definitely. I mean, it started for me because I had my own issues, like health-wise. I was always having stomach problems to the point where, I was just having episodes on trips of just complete, just sickness for 2 or 3 days. And I just kind of got fed up with it. And it was like, all right, again, I'm doing better than most people are. per se. Like I'm eating, a little more health consciously and things like that. And, once I switched over to this way of eating, I mean, it wasn't an immediate switch. Again, like you said, with kind of like the steps and stuff, like you got to give it a lot of reps. You can't just switch your eating habits in one day. You think everything's going to be perfect. Like you ate that wrong for, 25 plus years.
Yeah, your body has to readapt.
And so it's taking time. Like I still think I'm going to, you ask me again in 5 years how I'm feeling, I'm probably going to feel better, I think, but I do have my days still. The Super Bowl was yesterday, and maybe you have a little crappier food, but this, again, an 80-20 rule of some sort of, like, majority of the time do good.
Yeah.
Like, the world doesn't always set us up for this easy living, and again, nobody's got farms like they used to have 100 years ago or so it's like a little harder to live that lifestyle. But if majority of the time you can clean up your eating and just find a good quality source of food, you almost don't even need to change what you're eating, just change the source of it, find a better quality, and immediately your body's going to be like thanking you. It's going to be like, all right, we're getting real fuel now. Like we can do something with this.
I love that because we take chicken, for example, or anything, right? If you look at the ingredients, chicken should just say chicken, right? But a lot of times it says chicken and then it says 500 other ingredients of who
Whatever
knows what those are, right?
Yeah.
And I don't know, you said something that made me think all of our systems are combined or are working together, right? Your digestive system is tied in with your immune system and your musculoskeletal system and your mental system, right? So it's all, if you can't do one thing right and expect to get results. It all ties in with one another, right? And the eating and the working out and stretching and taking care of your body. So I think you do a really good job of not only telling people that, but living it, right? And so I know you've had some obstacles, like you've had hernias, right? And so how has that, obviously that's tough, right? Like I said, I blew out my knee, and then when my muscles and my skeleton isn't feeling right, mentally I'm not feeling right, but then once I get it back on track, now mentally I feel better, physically. So did that affect you at all mentally, or what would you say?
Yeah, I mean, it was honestly really bad timing too. I got the first one like right as I was opening the gym, and dealt with that a little bit, decided to get it repaired just because of just doing what I do is really tough to deal with like a hernia the whole time.
Yep.
So got it repaired, and then they say there's like a 1% chance it'll re-injure, and like 8 months later I'm like, oh, I got it again, and they're like, no, you don't. Sure enough, had it. Somehow I managed to like re-rupture the same one, or whether it didn't take, I don't know. Had to have it re-repaired, and then throughout the re-repair I can't say I was given it, but I think it was in a tough position next to my belly button, and it gave me a third umbilical hernia that I didn't have before it. So, out of nowhere with one quick little mishap, I'm dealing with almost 2 or 3 years worth of them. And so it's definitely been mentally, draining to a point where, again, I'm physically active for 6-7 hours straight training people, and to have that like thought in your mind of like, be careful. Like, you aren't 100% right now. It was hard. And, again, I'm a very physically active person too, and I want to train. I like to Olympic lift, and I'm big into rock climbing now, and just a lot of, whether it's golf or this or that, like I'm active. And to work with that, like that handicap the whole time was draining, but at the same time was awesome because it taught me how to be more aware of my body. Like, it's one of those things that you look back and it's a blessing in disguise because it taught me so much more about my body. I'm so much more in tune with it, what it's telling me, how to respond to it, well, like when to take a day or two. Like, I even had a tweak on my stomach last week, and, initially you freak out like, oh, here it goes again. But then, I'm just like, all right, give it a day or two. Like, take your second day of climbing off, and, do a few of these drills, and, give it the weekend, eat well, sleep well, and you're going to feel better. And I feel fine right now. So it's one of those things where, you are going to learn from those mishaps. And a lot of the athletes I have that have had injuries in the past are, have had, whether it's an ACL or 2 or 3, they say now, like, it was the best thing that happened to me. Like,
yep.
I'm so much smarter about it.
That's how I feel, truly.
And so I think it's just one of those things where if you can keep a good, again, comes back to like the 90% podcast, right? So
mental. It's mental.
If you can go into that situation and be in a good mindset, you're going to recover better. Like, your body follows your mind. Your mind controls everything. Beautiful.
I couldn't have said that better.
So
that's
like,
the truth.
if you're not on the same page with it, like, and you're just sitting there telling myself, oh, this sucks, like, I'm never going to get better, this is going to hurt, like, blah, 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 then that's how you're going to recover.
Bro, I promise that's exactly how I was. Before I came to you, my knee hurt so bad, and I just kept telling myself that I couldn't do anything. I can't stretch. I can't go for a walk. I can't strengthen it because it hurts so bad, right? And then I came to you. Then we eased our way into it, obviously, but now I'm able to squat deep. Or not as deep as you, but I feel really comfortable.
Yeah, you're more alive again.
I'm a lot more mobile. I can jump. I don't feel pain, right? I feel good, right? And that's how I think people. And I don't even think it's good. I think it's normal. I just think I feel like a normal.
That's a better way to put it.
Human, right?
Everybody thinks it's like, oh, well, that's cool. Like, you know, or give yourself 20 years and tell me how you feel now. Like, it's just because you're young, and you know, everyone's got an excuse. And to me, like, again, I can't guarantee I'm gonna feel great when I'm 55 or 75. I don't know. But I believe that if I do these things well and I'm consistent with it, and I believe it's doing something good for me, like, that's a huge side of it. I mean, I stress the mental side of things way more than gym nowadays. Like, I mean, I have athletes come in here that are immediately, you know, negative or just and maybe they're not to anybody else, but they're just speaking that out loud to themselves.
Yep.
And I'm looking at them like,
and that's the worst form of negativity.
Oh my goodness. It's like, words have energy, and people tell you this too. Is another one of those like wise traditions that have passed down of like, you know, like your words hurt, and they do. Like, they have energy. We're energetic beings, and your words are a frequency and a vibration, and your body is putting that out, and other bodies will pick that up. That's why you can walk in a room and be like, the vibe's just really weird here, like whatever. Like, that's a real thing. Like, your body is in tune to that. And so, like, if someone comes in here speaking negatively to themselves, you know, in the long run, I can't make them do what they want to do, but they're affecting everyone else in here. So that's got to stop.
Oh yeah.
And like, that's something I'm like, hey, we're gonna nip that in the butt real quick. Like, we're not doing that in here. Because again, like, I mean, if you want to think that way, I'm like, think it to yourself in your head then. You know, I don't believe that's good for you, but if that's what it's going to be, then keep it to yourself.
Yep.
Because other people don't want to hear it.
No, for sure. And it's not benefiting anybody, right? And so, especially not that person. And so, like, I really have mixed thoughts on that, because we get athletes also on the basketball training side that come in, and most of the time athletes that are wanting to train are lacking some sort of confidence issues, or maybe it's their skills that are lacking, and then that obviously ties in with their confidence. So for me, if an athlete is talking negative about themselves, I try to give them a couple little exercises. Like, every time a negative thought pops in their head, I'll tell them it's okay to have those thoughts. Every single person has those thoughts. It's not about having the thought. It's about how you respond to it, right? And so when that thought comes in your head, you either are going to believe it or you're not, right? And start wiping out those negative thoughts and replace them with something positive, right? Like, oh, I can't make 5 in a row. Like, I get kids all the time that tell me they can't make 5 in a row, and then 5 minutes later they make 5 in a row, because all I did was get them to convince themselves that they could do it, right? And it's that cliche saying, whether you believe you can or you can't, you're going to be right. But it's so true,
100%.
Especially when it comes to sports and fitness and everything like that, right? So, and I know it happens with you in here all the time. I've seen it firsthand with myself and with other athletes that you're working with, where maybe they're coming off of an injury and they don't trust themselves to do something. And so you give them a little bit of confidence, get them to level 1, and maybe what you really want them to do is at level 5. But once they see they can do level 1, then they know they can do level 2, level 3, level 4. And then once they pass level 5, then they realize there's no limit, right? And they see other athletes in here squatting 300 or doing whatever it is, and they know that they can eventually build their way up to that. So I want to talk about environment and culture here at your gym. I think you have one of the most unique and probably the best gym environment as far as everybody feeling comfortable. You know what I mean? And I think that's one of those things where people get a little caught up in, oh, the gym should be an uncomfortable place and you should come in and sweat and just be miserable by the time you leave. And I don't believe that at all. I think there's times for that. I think there's maybe 20% of the time or 10% of the time where you should just feel absolutely dead and maybe hate your trainer or whatever. But I think the majority of it should be what the word you said earlier, play, have fun, experiment, right? So what are your thoughts on that?
So I think, again, if it kind of comes back to the mental side of things. If you're just getting beat down in here 24/7 and you hate coming here, you're not going to get better. Like, and
you're not going to want to come.
Yeah, you're not going to want to be here. Like, and this is, again, we're training the human body. The human body is the most complex thing on the planet. Like, we don't even begin to, if someone tells you they understand the body, they don't. Like, I'm the first to tell you I don't even understand this thing at all. But I'm trying every day to learn it and to learn it better and to get a better idea of what it's capable of. And so, yeah, like, when you come in here and the environment's bad, then I think you've already hindered your growth of that day. And so it's just about trying to create a place that people feel comfortable and people feel, you know, that this is an environment that I'm going to be actually able to get better at. And, you know, people are, again, they see people around them that have gotten better. And so it's like when you come into a place and you actually start to believe, like, I can get better here, then that's the first step to progress. You know, like you need that first.
That belief.
You got to have that belief. And so day one, that's something I'm preaching to them. Like, I'll be the first to tell you if it was the worst rep I've ever seen or like was horrible.
Yeah.
And like, let's never do that again.
Yeah.
But I'm also like, it's okay. Like you don't know what you don't know. Like you don't know anything yet. That's fine. Like be bad.
That's
at
why
this.
you're here.
That's
Yep.
exactly why you're here. Like I've had pros come in here and I'm testing them. I'm like, man, like, you know, you made millions of dollars and you're some hotshot, you know, player or whatever. And
Yeah.
I'm like, but in here, like you're pretty bad.
Yeah.
Like,
No, and we've talked about that. Like, imagine how much better you could be
Yeah.
if you could move properly.
But I'm leading that up with be excited about that then, because you're already a great baseball player, you're a great football player, whatever sport you're at, you're good at it already. But like when it comes to the human movement side of things, like you might be like an elementary school kid, right? And so like be excited though, because that means like you have so much room to improve and to be better. And so like I think even if you take that negative side of it, again, like rewire it in a different way. Sure, I'm bad at this, but this helps me do that. And if I get better at this, then I'm better at that.
Oh, yeah.
And so it's like you just gotta kind of keep that like bigger perspective on things. And if you get lost in that one moment of how bad this drill is, I mean, I have people come in here and I'll show them a drill and they're doing it, and first rep they're like, oh, you can just see they're getting mad. I'm like, what are you mad at? Like you've never done this in your life. Like I do this every day. Of course it's a little easier for me. Like, but you go show me something on, you know, in the basketball court and I can't do it. I'm gonna look like an idiot. So like it's fine. Like just know that you're in a place to get better, and you know, as long as I can create an environment that breeds that and preaches that, like I'm always going to, you know, give them positive words when they're doing something great. But I'm also going to be real with them if, hey, like, you know, I think your energy is pretty bad today. You know, what's going on? I don't, you know, I've seen you days where you're, you know, on it, and I've seen you off, so I can tell when they're not on.
You can tell. You've done that to me.
Yeah, very quickly someone can walk in the door. I'm like, all right, what's going on?
Yeah.
Like, let's have a little therapy session.
Yeah.
Like we need to get that out of the way first before we get in here and train,
Yeah.
because it's gonna mess the day up. And
I want to pause right there on that. That is a huge topic with training in my eyes, and we talked about it on the phone the other day. Being a therapist almost as a trainer, or just wearing other hats in general, right? And especially, we can dive super deep into this with being gym owners and everything, but being as a trainer, right? People think athletes come in, we put them through a workout, and then athletes leave, right? But a lot of the times, that's not the case. Like you just said, there needs to be a little mini therapy session before, during, after sometimes. Maybe they're struggling at school, maybe they're struggling at home, maybe they just went through a breakup, whatever the case is.
Yeah.
And I think the thing that separates, everybody thinks they're a star trainer and a great trainer, right? But there's superstars out there in the training world, in my eyes, right? There's good trainers, there's stars, and then there's superstars, right? You're a superstar, and I'm not just saying that to hype you up. I truly mean that. And the thing that I think separates superstars is that they understand that they're not just there to train the athlete, right? Mm-hmm. A lot of the times the athlete, yes, they want training. Yes, they want to get physically stronger, faster, better, whatever you want to call it. But a lot of times they need a friend or a mentor or somebody that they can just talk to and feel open with and not be judged, right? Yeah. And I think you do one of the best jobs at that. So what's your approach to that?
I mean, there's a quote, and I'm probably going to butcher it a little bit, but it's one of my favorite ones, where it's like, people don't care what you know until they know how much you care.
Bam.
And that's like something I live by. Like, I mean, that's been, you know, early on interviewing, and they always ask you, like, what's your favorite this? I've always thrown that out there, because it's true though. Like, it's always stuck to me, and it's always been important to me that, and I'll put myself in other people's shoes. Like, if someone's trying to teach me something and I can just tell I'm just there, you know, to fill their hour and to fill their checkbook, then I don't believe like I'm getting what I need from that. And I don't even want to listen to them on that level, even if they are right, you know? And so like, I think just getting people to like believe like I'm actually here for them, and I'm here to not just collect money. Like, unfortunately, I gotta get paid to keep the doors open, but like, it's not about that. Like, if I could do this for free, I would, because I truly enjoy helping people, and I enjoy like teaching them things that they're not maybe being told elsewhere. You know, again, the sport world it's a dog-eat-dog world out there. Like, it is not nice to people. It is a competition from start to finish, and if you're not better than the next person, then like, you're just going to get left in the dust. But you could be that good, and you might have just needed a little extra help or guidance or someone to sit you back and, you know, tell you this, that, and the other. And I just try to be that person. And again, like majority of my clients are 14 to 18, you know, like, put yourself back in high school. It's hard. And I think I couldn't even imagine being in high school now with social media. as heavy as it is, like we barely had like a Facebook and an Instagram. I don't even think we had Instagram.
Yeah.
Like it's just getting to the point now where there's so much stress for them that if this can be a place where they can just come in and shut off and just escape for a little bit and feel loved and feel wanted and to, actually know I'm benefiting from here, I think, yes, my training may be good, but I could probably do the worst training ever and they're still going to benefit from it because they're at a place where, they believe like they should be at and they believe that they're getting better. And I tell people all the time, like there's multiple training facilities in this area. There's a lot of places they could be going to. And if they don't like what I do or, believe in what I do, then let me show you somewhere else because you need to go somewhere that you believe in.
Yeah.
And that they believe in you. And if that's not here, then, no hard feelings. Like I'm going to continue to do it this way. But, I do believe like that's first come, first serve. Like you need that first.
Yeah.
Go find somewhere that you feel wanted, that you feel, this person's out for me and they're here to help me. And if you start with that, I can probably get them to tell them they need to run in circles backwards for 30 minutes and they're going to do it because they believe in me.
Yeah. No, and that's huge right there because the trainer-client relationship matters. And you could be the absolute best trainer in the world, and you're not going to get along with every single client that walks through the door. So I think being willing to refer out and just say, hey, like, it's not that we don't get along, it's just we don't get along as well as I think you'll get along with this other trainer, right? And the other trainer you may feel isn't as good or knowledgeable as you, but if they connect better, that's a better fit, right?
Yeah.
And even if the drills we don't think are as good, like just the human connection I think is huge in development.
Yeah, and like, again, there's not like one right or wrong way to train. Again, we said this early on that the human body is very adaptable and it can handle so much. So it comes down to this thing of like, I really don't know if there's really bad training. Again, there might just be, and I'll reference this to climbing. So with rock climbing, you have a route on a wall and, I'm going to hit it different than maybe the 6'4" guy. We got different body types. We got different options. Maybe I move a little different, or even someone the same size as me. Maybe I move different. Maybe I have a little longer arms. Like there's just so many ways you'll watch someone go up a wall and hit a route. And you're like, man, I didn't do it that way. He did it that way. She did it that way. And I think there's just so many ways to get to your endpoint. And it's not to say one was right or wrong, but maybe there is a better way. Maybe there's a more efficient way. But like you're still probably moving forward.
Yeah.
Like as long as like you're just not out to hurt yourself. And I think no coach in this area has intentions like, I'm going to go out here and see if I can break this kid today. Like that's nobody's intentions. And so I think it's like, again,
let's not say nobody. You'd be surprised.
Yeah, I mean, maybe there's some crazy coaches out there, but for the most part, I feel like coaches have
they have the best interest. Yeah.
And again, like I think you're going to get that most places. So you just have to mesh with that. You got to vibe with that. And if it's not me, then we got to find somewhere that you do because that's what's going to make you better first off.
Yeah.
And yeah, I think it's just like I've been blessed that a lot of people have stuck around and a lot of people have, bought into what I'm doing and like this, method. But again, like when we talked about, like there's not a lot of coaches that are probably trying to hurt their athletes, but they might be doing stuff in a way that is hurting their athletes without really knowing it.
Exactly. It's one of those things that you said earlier, you don't know what you don't know.
Correct. And it's not even that I'm even maybe saying that they're hurting them, but like, again, a 14 to 18-year-old kid has more on their plate than people will give them credit for. Like sure, they don't have a job, or maybe they do, but they don't have to like, be on their own and support themselves and pay for all these bills. Like they don't have that, but they have their own stress.
No, but they have their own stress. They have social stress.
And they have so much between like their schedules they blow my mind sometimes. I got high schoolers that are leaving the house by 7 and not getting home till 8. And they are jam-packed all day. Got IB classes, doing that, doing, this practice here, going to that coach there, doing their hitting here. Like their schedules are crazy. And to not like understand that they're under a lot and that there's only so much that body can take, that if you don't, again, buy into your athletes and learn them and understand who they are, I feel like you're going to miss that aspect of it. Again, knowing I can tell when an athlete's off when they walk in the door. Like I know them enough, I speak into them enough, whatever it is, like they can walk in the door and I'm like, what's going on? And that's the thing, it's like that stress will weaken the body. So maybe you're getting hurt in a practice or you're tweaking something in here or whatever it may be, and it had nothing to do with the coach's practice was wrong or my training was bad. It's just that your body...
was mental.
No, I mean, it really can be.
Yeah.
There's crazy stories, and whether you want to believe these things or not, of people dying without a problem because they were misdiagnosed. Like they've had told they had cancer and they're only going to have so long to live. And they're like, well, I just want to live till, a couple months longer. I want to make it the holidays with my family. And sure enough, they do. And then right when the holiday is over, they die.
Yeah, that's
and then
crazy.
they autopsy them, and they didn't even have a problem to begin with. Like, the brain is that powerful. So if you're going to come in here, and we're not even talking on that level, we're not even thinking about that we're dying right now, but you're thinking like, I'm dying almost because my life sucks, and I got broken up with, or I have this huge test, or I got a huge tournament this weekend, and if I do well, maybe my whole life changes from it. They're under a lot. And when they're under that and they're being beat down at a hard practice, or I'm coming in here and beating them down in the gym, it's not helping. And so sometimes less is more.
So let's talk about that real quick, because I completely agree. And honestly, you just I learn something new from you every single time we talk. So, but how do the best of the best not get stressed like that? Because we see, obviously, there's girls like Emma Risch that you train, McDonald's All-American, best player in this county's ever seen, maybe even the state, one of the best in the country. Jake, the professional baseball player. We could list all these guys and girls that you train, right? And they have the same schedule, or if anything, more rigorous of a schedule than the average high school athlete or professional athlete. And so what do you think separates them? Because they look like they're having more fun, right? Yeah. They don't look stressed. Yeah. So how do you think they get to that point?
Well, one is they gotta still love playing their sport. If there's ever a point where you just feel like you're just playing it for someone else, like your mom or dad wanted you to do it, or like you got to make it because like life is hard or whatever it may be, and you see it as an outlet out, that can affect you big time. Like, you got to still have love for the game, because to do as much as, like you said, you have way more on your plate than a normal person does. And to go into that day in and day out and not enjoy it and love it, like, that's just going to burn you out. And you see that a lot with athletes. They just eventually just stop. Great athletes, whatever it may be, and they're just done. They just got burnt out. So, like, one is you got to have that love for it still. And if you don't, then either figure out how to have a love for it, or, like, maybe you do need to hang it up. And, like, there's nothing wrong with that again, but, like, you got to be honest with yourself.
Yep.
And, I mean, it comes back to that 90%, like, it's all mental. And so, like, for those athletes,
I might have to hire you to be my co-guest.
Bro, I mean, it's so spot on. Like, it's the most important thing. Like, I tell most athletes that come in here, I don't care if they're 14 or not, like, they're elite. Like, they got skill in what they're doing. Like, they're great athletes already. They have an incredible skill, and they could definitely be somebody one day. Like, I mean, they have all the potential in the world. So, like, I'm like, this little market I have, and I'm seeing majority of them come into me, and I'm looking at them like, you could be somebody someday. Like, that's not a fluke. Like, they're all that good. They're all skilled, and they all have a potential. So what's stopping every one of them from being the best is their mind. And like, and so whether it's going to be, you got to get off social media and stop listening to the narrative that you're seeing on there, or you got to stop flooding your mind with too much information. There's information everywhere.
No, there is. And in today's age, influence and I don't like to say the word programming, but it almost is that. I saw a video the other day. They had a red dot and a blue dot right next to each other, and they were the exact same size dot, but the blue dot had like a border around it or something. And so the guy asked the class, which dot's bigger? He said, if you think it's the blue dot, raise your hand. Everybody raised their hand. And he said, if you think the red dot's bigger, raise your hand. Nobody raised their hand. And then he said, he shows the measurements. They're the exact same, right? But just because of the power of influence, he presented it in a way where the blue dot
was the right answer.
Exactly, right? And so with social media, right, there's so much information out there. What do athletes trust? What do they not trust? Are they hearing too much? Are they not hearing enough? They're questioning themselves nonstop. So I think what you just said is huge. Maybe stepping back from social media can help the mental side of the game.
I mean, I had to talk with one of my athletes last week about this, just about a lot that was on their plate. And I mean, great athlete, has potential to easily get D1 recruited and has all the potential in the world, but they're beating themselves right now. They're wearing themselves out, they're stressing themselves out, and they're always having these nagging injuries. And I argue, like, it's not because you're not training enough or doing enough. Like, you're probably doing too much, but more than that, like, I was like, what can we look outside of this? Like, are you on, TikTok a lot and Instagram? She's like, yeah. I'm like, do you think it's helpful being on there? No. I'm like, okay, then maybe we get off it a little bit. Like, I understand, like, you can't just rip the plug on that, but like, if it's not helping you, and you can be honest with yourself and look back, like, no one can get in your head and decide that. If you think, hands down, this is hurting me more than it's helping me, then it's got to go. Yeah. And that's for everything.
And that's for everything, and that's mental 100%. And we talked about that on the phone the other day, right? Because what works for somebody isn't going to
Yeah.
work for everybody.
Yeah.
And so I could be doing something that you think is wrong, or you could be doing something that I think is wrong. But it's not about what I think about you or what you think about me. It's only, at the end of the day, only I know whether I did my best or not, right? At the end of the day, you know, and what I think is my best, you may think is not the best, right? And so that's huge right there. I love that. One thing that you said that I just had to write a note on that I want to circle back to, you said the word endpoint, right? Like there might be a more efficient way for coaches to get to the endpoint, right? And so this is something that I like to talk about and that I kind of conversate with myself on and other trainers and coaches and players. What do you think it's about? And when I say it, I'm talking the game, either sport or the game of life. Is it about getting to that endpoint and getting to your goal? Or do you think it's more about the journey and the process? What are your thoughts on that?
100% the journey, because like we said, like there's a lot of great athletes out there and everyone's doing, work to be that best player in the world, but only a small amount will.
Only one person can be the best in the world.
And just getting it to that high level. Like I saw some statistics on like football players, like how many actually go and play in college, and then from those college, how many actually make it to the NFL, and then from there, how many actually play. Like we're talking such a small percentage of a chance that like, I'm a very realistic person. If I'm achieving a goal like that or working for a goal like that, I also have the deep, thought in my mind that this is probably not going to work. But that doesn't bother me, like, because it's not about getting to that point. It's about setting an outrageous goal and working for an outrageous goal. But if I don't, like, it's okay, because there's no way you didn't get better. There's no way you didn't improve. There's no way you aren't
Constant
a better person.
improvement.
Like, if you are trying to, be the best player in the world, you're probably going to be one of the best players in the world by the time you're done.
Yep.
Can't say you're going to be the best, but you're probably going to be better than majority of the people. But if you're just like, I just want to, make my varsity team and that's all I really care about, then that's probably all you're going to ever achieve.
Yeah. Then you have no chance at being one of the best.
Yeah, you're not going to be one of the best in the world. And people laugh at me a lot because I put outrageous goals for myself. Like, I still at some point will try to hit these crazy goals. And they laugh, but it's like, I don't really mind because, first it just shows like where their mental capacity is versus mine.
Yeah.
So it's like, I still got you beat right now.
Oh, yeah.
Like my mind is way stronger than yours. So like put us in that one-on-one situation. I know I'm prevailing, but I put those outrageous goals because I want to reach for the stars. Like I want to go so hard at something and work towards it and know like, man, the odds of that, they're going to be hard. Amazing, awesome, love it if it happens. But if not, I know I'm way better off by putting that crazy goal out there.
Oh, yeah.
And so 100% is the journey. Like,
Yeah.
and if you can keep that perspective and you can, know, like, sure, I want to be this, All-American, whatever, work for that. But if it doesn't happen, you didn't fail. It doesn't mean you're a failure. It doesn't mean you aren't, whatever. Like you still earned something from that.
Yep.
You might not have got the title you wanted, but if you can step back and look at the journey and what you were achieving throughout it, then there's plenty of things that you were awarded with.
I don't know about you, but when I was growing up, I truly thought, until a certain point, I think in high school is when I really started questioning it, but until 8th grade or so, I truly thought I was going to make it to the NBA, right? I really thought I was going to be...
We still could if you want to.
Right? Maybe I need to get back in the gym, right, and start working. No,
Dream's
but
not ever dead.
And I'm not saying that if there's a kid out there listening and his goal is to make it to the NBA that he can't, right? Because somebody has to,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
There's spots to fill and somebody's got to
not
make
you?
it. But if we look at the statistics on it, you have a almost 100 times more likely chance of becoming a billionaire with a B than making it to the NBA, right? And I don't know any billionaires, do you?
Nah.
Being a millionaire is hard, right? Being a billionaire is crazy. And the reference I give on that, because a lot of people don't understand the difference between what a millionaire is and what a billionaire is. Do you know how many days a million seconds is?
Nah.
A million seconds is 11 days.
Okay.
So if a million seconds is 11 days, how many days do you think a billion seconds is?
Well, I know a billion is 1,000 millions, so it's got to be a lot.
So how many?
11,000? Does that make that right?
Maybe, yeah. So really, I don't know. As far as days, I know it's 32 years.
So that could be probably 11,000 days.
Yeah, so you might be spot on, right? So
wow,
11 days
versus 32
you
years.
can remember what you're doing. 32 years, I haven't even lived 30. Both of us haven't lived 32
Nope.
years yet, right? So 11 days goes by pretty quick. 32 years is insane, right? And so thinking of that from back to a basketball perspective, making it to the NBA is very, very, very hard, right?
Yeah.
But that to me, shouldn't stop you from that being your goal.
100%.
Because, like you said, right, if you just say, okay, no, the chances of me making it to the NBA are almost zero, right? I'm just going to not play basketball
We're just
anymore.
going to hope to make college, and, that's it. Then you just put the cap on it.
Yeah, you're limiting yourself, right? And that's, again, mental, right? And you're not going to gain as much, and you're not going to work as hard, and you're not going to explore and seek information and all that to the extent that you would if you had that outrageous goal.
Agreed.
So I think we're on the same page of the goal needs to be outrageous with an understanding that you may or may not get there, right? There's a better chance that you're not going to get there, but if you pursue it, you're going to end up a lot farther, and you're going to become, it's not about where you end up, I think. It's about who you become as a person, right? And so I know Zach is giving us the signal of wrap up over here. You got to get over to where you headed today?
I'm actually watching a bullpen for some of the pro guys that are still in town.
Nice.
They're finishing up before they head out to spring training. So I like to, again, another thing, like as a coach, like go support your people.
Oh, yeah.
It might just be a little bullpen, but like me being out there, I think they enjoy that, and they like, learn too. Like I can better learn what they're being asked to do, pitching when I go watch it. And so I can, help them in the gym better. So it's just, I got some free time. I'm going to go out there and watch them do their thing, and I enjoy doing it. And probably the last time I'll be able to catch some of them before they go and play this year. And, it's just something you got to make time for.
Oh, yeah. No, and I love what you just said about learning. We've had this conversation millions of times of what we were doing 5 years ago as trainers isn't what we're doing today, and it probably won't be what we're doing in 5 years, right?
Correct.
So let's end on that note. What are your thoughts on learning and education and all of that? Just share that with the listeners.
I heard someone say this once too. I'm keep quoting a lot of people, but like the more you know, the less you realize you know. And it sounds like very like counterintuitive, but like the more I'm learning, the more I realize I know nothing.
That is
and that's
truth.
beautiful about it. That's a beautiful thing to know, and that's a beautiful thing to grasp now, because now I don't have to come into a place and be like, I know everything. Like I know nothing.
Yep, you're open-minded.
So I'm so open-minded now to anything and everything. Like tell me some outrageous wild thing. I don't really care if I'm going to do it or not, but I want to know the information. I want to know every side of the story, because that's the only way I can truly become the best, if I have information being taught from other people. Other people succeed again in different ways. There's different ways to get to that end point. And so maybe they're doing one part of something that's, I like that they're doing, and I can add it to my routine now.
Yep.
I don't have to take everything. I don't have to live your life, but I can always learn a little snippet of something that I can take to myself, and I can better myself because of it.
Sweet.
Yeah.
Beautiful. I'm on the same page right there. All right, let's wrap this thing up. One final question. Well, we'll go two. We'll go. My question to you is, what is your current outrageous goal? Where do you want to be in 5 or 10 or 15 or 20 years?
Well, I'll give you the one that my athletes, I've been telling them, and they all laugh at me when I tell them it, because I majority work with baseball players. But I told them I'm going to learn how to throw 90, so I can prove to people that, first off, I'm not a big person. I'm maybe 5'5", 155 pounds. Uh-huh. And so, like, first off, just my size alone is, like, not really normal to throw hard. I haven't played baseball since I was probably, like, 10 or 8.
But you're about to get back to it.
And so I'm like, but I just want to kind of prove, like, again, whether I do or don't, like, the odds of me throwing 90, probably very slim. I mean, maybe if I worked on it for the next 2 to 5 years, we could get pretty close. But I want to, again, put an outrageous goal. If I throw 85, that's ridiculous. Like, why am I throwing 85?
Especially not being a baseball player.
I'm not a baseball player.
Yeah.
Like, I haven't played for years. So, again, it's like I like to put those outrageous goals out there. And I think that's kind of more of like a funny, laughing one. But that's something, again, I'm doing for my athletes in a way, because I want to prove if you learn your body and you learn truly what it's supposed to do and how it can work, and then you go teach a skill, and then you practice the skill, and you work at something, day in and day out, you can become pretty elite at it.
Oh, yeah.
Whether I hit 90 or not doesn't matter. Like, I'm probably going to impress people along the way.
Definitely.
And I'm going to impress myself.
Yep.
And I'm going to learn something from it.
We'll have to follow up with Nick and see
yeah.
if he ever
that one I didn't want to bring to the public. I was like,
well, now it's out there.
I was like, now I put that out. I was like, oh gosh, I got to say this now.
Oh, yeah.
Because a bunch of them know it in here at least. And I was just like, they're like, you telling people this? I'm like, I mean, not really. Like,
now it's going to be blasted.
It's out there now.
Yeah.
So we'll see. Maybe check back in a year or two. We'll see where I'm at.
Oh, yeah. Do you know where you're currently at? Have
no
you
idea.
tested? Got it.
But honestly, it's tough, because I told you I tweaked my stomach last week. It was because of a lot of the throwing.
Uh-huh.
And so with hernias, it's a very tough position to stretch and rotate and create that tension from separation of the hips and spine. And that's asking a lot out of my abs and my midsection. And so with a couple hernias, it's like there is that fear in your head of like, can my body even hold up on this? And after the little tweak, and it was just from doing something new. Like I don't do that normally. And again, it was a lot. And my body said, hey, like chill out. Like I get what you want to do, but like let's build our way into it.
Yeah.
And so like we'll just got to baby step our way in there. When the guys get back from after the season, I'll work on it more, and we'll see where it goes.
So that's a personal goal. I love that one. What about for your business? What about your gym? Where do you want? How do I say the name of your business?
1513 Performance.
1513 Performance. Yeah. So where do you want 1513 Performance to go within the next 5 years, 10 years, 20 years?
I mean, a lot of people ask that, and I think when asking that, they think I'm going to answer with like, I want to have this massive facility and I want to outreach thousands of people. And I really don't necessarily want to do that. And it's not because I wouldn't love to do that. It's that I want the gym to organically grow at its own pace, and that's kind of what it has done so far because of how I run it and how I want it to be a personal thing. Like if I get too big, I don't relate with the athletes and learn them well enough, 100%. And I lose that aspect of it.
Yep.
And that's something to me that is so valuable and is so much more important than what I teach them, physically. So there's only so much growth I want from the gym to maintain that ability to reach people. And, maybe one day I'll be able to add an athlete or a trainer on, and that maybe thinks the same way and is emitting that same energy and wants to give back in that same way. And then we can reach more people that way. But until I get to a point where, I'm not able to sustain that level of connection, then, I'm happy with right where I'm at. I feel like I'm impacting a lot of people, and I'm able to change people's life slowly but surely, and I'm really enjoying that. And so I definitely have goals of growing, but I want it to happen organically. And the gym is 1513's off of Bible verse, so I'm a man of faith, and I just want God to kind of have his hand in it and progress it at the rate that he believes I'm capable of.
I love it. I love that. All right. Well, honestly, I can't think of a better way to wrap this up. I guess, do you have any final thoughts for any listeners? I know we have a lot of parents of basketball players. We have basketball players that are, honestly, I've had middle school all the way to professional basketball players give us feedback. So really parents, basketball players, coaches, I guess fitness enthusiasts, is there any final thoughts that you have for anybody who's on the flip side listening to this podcast?
I mean, that's a wide answer for all those different groups, but I think if we just look at everyone as human beings, and not, the coach, the parent, the athlete, I'd say the biggest thing is just to like trust your body, learn your body, and to get back to what we did, a couple hundred years ago. And if you can't, play like your 8-year-old brother or whatever like that, and you don't have the abilities they have, start with that. Start with sitting on the ground a little more often, getting out of chairs, hanging more, getting barefoot, walking outside, just getting back to the roots of things. And I think if anyone does that, whether it's a coach, parent, athlete, they're going to feel better, and, they're going to excel more at whatever they're doing, whether it's just being a parent or being an athlete or being a coach.
Being a human.
Be a good human
Beautiful.
being.
I love that. And I'm going to add one layer. You said, know your body, or trust your body, right?
Yeah.
I'm going to add what we talked about this whole episode. Know your mind, trust your mind, right?
You're the boss of your body.
Exactly. All right, guys, that's a wrap for today. Nick, I cannot thank you enough for this hour of your time. And this was part 1. We're definitely going to have to come back for a part 2.
I love it. Have me back whenever you want.
Oh, yeah.
I love chopping it up.
All right, guys, thank you so much for those who are listening and giving us feedback. Again, this is a brand new podcast. We're learning, we're growing. Every episode, we want to bring entertainment, valuable knowledge, and just things that you can take into your everyday life and execute and implement to make you a better human overall. This was my guest, Nick Womble. Nick, where can they find you?
I only got an Instagram page for the gym, so 1513 Performance, but that's with Roman numerals, so XV, XIII Performance, and you can check us out over there.
If you need strength, conditioning, mobility, any type of work, obviously we talked, he builds the mind as well. He's located right here in Melbourne, Florida, right behind our Melbourne gym. Again, he works with athletes 12 to professional athletes. So hit him up, get in the gym, try a session, and you won't regret it. Tell him Tyler sent, or tell him the 90% podcast sent you. And again, thank you guys so much for your support. We're just getting started with this podcast. We're going to keep building it, and we couldn't do it without you guys listening on the flip side, so we definitely appreciate you. Make sure to follow us on all social platforms, the 90% Podcast and Fast Phenom Training. I'm your host, Tyler Matthews, and that's a wrap for this morning. Thanks again.